Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. It is with a sad heart that I report here this morning the death of founding member, bassist, and vocalist of the great Wales or Welsh power trio Budgie, John Burke Shelley, who left us yesterday, actually late yesterday, at the age of 71. Born April 10th, 1950, in Tiger Bay, Cardiff, Wales. He passes away January 10th, 2022. So Burke, as we all know him, born John, but Burke, as he was called by his bandmates, his fans, and his family. 1/3 of the classic lineup of Budgie, a very, very underrated heavy rock proto-metal band, so influential to so many, yet never really got the recognition or the success that they probably deserved, like their peers, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Uriah Heep, right? To me, Budgie always was part of that original conglomeration of heavy bands that influenced so many others. I mean, come on. Metallica, one of the biggest metal bands on the planet of the last 35, 40 years, were hugely influenced by Budgie. So many other bands were. Burke has been fairly inactive on the music scene for quite a while. Budgie, as a band, were pretty inactive for well over a decade. He had a aneurysm some number of years ago, and he also suffered from Stickler syndrome. So he had not been in the greatest of health in recent years. And I was wondering, I don't know, about like 8-10 months ago, there was some rumor going around that he had taken a turn for the worse and not doing well. But he passed away peacefully in his sleep yesterday. We actually, I heard the news right at the tail end of taping of the Hudson Valley Square show. So, but by then I had already was getting ready to go to bed, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'll tackle this first thing in the morning, because I wasn't really in the right mind to do it last night. So, I mean, one of the things that I think many people always kind of touch on when talking about the kind of career of Budgie, and specifically Burke. I mean, there are similarities, obviously, to Rush. A classic three-piece. You got Burke and Geddy Lee. Both kind of look the same. Long, thin hair, right? Glasses most of the time. Kind of like a pointy nose. Singing that high-pitched shriek, so to speak, right? A lot of similarities. Both played bass, one with a pick, one without. Both played keyboards in the band, right? So a lot of similarities there, but that's kind of where it all ends. I always likened Budgie more so to a mix of Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin, because I think, Budgie had those humongous, heavy, riffy songs that, to me, many of them just as heavy as some of the stuff that Sabbath was cranking out. But like Zeppelin, there was a kind of heavy blues rock element in some of their stuff, and they also, on every album, usually included like one or two, sometimes even three mellower, kind of folky acoustic type passages or songs. All right, so kind of a mix between the two bands, but still they sound like Budgie. They really had their own unique sound, and like I said, just so heavy, so important to the scene. Should have been a bigger band. And, at the helm always was Burke. Again, though he had that high-pitched, shrill kind of tone, he was different enough from what Geddy Lee was doing. And I think when you hear Budgie's music, you have to hear that high-pitched vocal style. Just Burke's, the way he sang, it was perfect with those songs. And a really good bass player. I mean, to go alongside Tony Borgia, who's the riff master, you had to have someone who had a big bottom end sound on the bass, and Burke certainly did that. So let's take a look at some of or all of the Budgie catalog here, actually. So it all kind of started back here on this particular album, Budgie's self-titled debut, which was released in 1971. And this, heavy stuff, of course, Burke, Tony, and Ray Phillips on drums, the original three-piece. There they are, so you can get an idea of what... There's even better shot. So again, you can kind of see the similarities to Geddy, right? Although Burke definitely had the bigger glasses at the time. Some classic stuff on here. Again, a mix of like the really heavy, the kind of bluesy, and the more acoustic-based stuff. You got Guts and a new disintegrating parachute woman. I mean, parachutist woman. One of the cool things about Budgie is their song titles were so off the wall. And a lot of really long titles. I mean, just crazy stuff, right? Rape of the Locks is so good. Homicidal, Suicidal. So many classic heavy tracks. I'm amazed, actually, when I come across people these days who are, maybe like 45, 50 years and older, who like heavy music and know nothing about this band other than, oh yeah, I remember seeing the album covers and hearing the name. They got the funny little bird on there and all that kind of stuff, but they don't know anything else by it. Or they know the one or the two tracks that Metallica covered, and that's it. Guys, go listen to the rest of this catalog. It's seriously good. We talked about... actually, no, we have not yet. I actually recorded it, but it's coming up on... an episode of albums that are 50 years old in 2022. Budgie Squawk, the second album. This is from 1972. Another great album. Man, Whiskey River Rockin' Man. Hot as a Docker's Armpit. Drugstore Woman. Young as a World. Young as a World. If you're watching this here and you're not really all that familiar with Budgie, check out Young as a World, because it's a perfect example of kind of all this band had to offer, with the light and the shade and the big and the heavy and the mellow, and then the kind of the jammy part, the kind of jazzy bluesy thing. Sledgehammer, heavy doomy riffs mixed with gentle acoustic passages, light vocals, a little bit of searing, meandering, psychedelic bluesy guitar soloing. Just great stuff. And yes, that is a Roger Dean cover. Speaking of Roger Dean, how about Never Turn Your Back on a Friend, which came out in 1973. Lovely Roger Dean artwork on this particular one. There you go. Another great album. Classic songs. Bread Fan. Metallica love that song, right? Most people, I think, who are Metallica fans love that song. You got Baby Please Don't Go, doing the blues rock thing. You're the Biggest Thing Since Powdered Milk. Classic song. Really wild title. How about this one? The Grip of the Tire Fitter's Hand. Another killer song. And then Parents. Parents, 10 minutes long, big epic on the album. Also, showing off the moody aspect of the band, the big doomy proto-metal riffing involved there as well. Just classic track. My personal favorite album of theirs from 1974, In for the Kill. This is heavy. Heavy. The title track alone is brutally heavy. One of the heaviest songs from this time period. Man, just that stomping, galloping riff. Just so good. Crash Course in Brain Surgery. Another song that Metallica loved. Zoom Club, Hammer and Tongs, Living on Your Own. Just great stuff. And the riffs are catchy. The songs are memorable. It's just really beefy, big, bottom-heavy stuff. Bandolier, 1975. These guys basically put out an album a year for a while there. Another really great song here. Breaking All the House Rules. Killer song. Napoleon Bonaparte, 1 and 2. Here you got some mellow stuff in the middle too. In the middle of the album. Again, these kind of moody, introspective, mellow songs. Haunting. Right? But very melodic. I was reading a post from Michael Ackerfeld from Opeth this morning, talking about hearing about the loss of Burke and how important the music of Budgie was to him growing up. And he mentions how, as much as he loves the heavy stuff of Budgie, it's the mellower stuff that actually that resonates mostly with him. So again, even though they got the big heavy songs, they always, on every album, at least two kind of more mellower acoustic, sometimes jazzy or bluesy based fare, with haunting lyrical imagery and vocally. Just really good variety on a lot of these albums. If I Were Britannia, I'd Waive the Rules from 1976. More cool album artwork. Here you got Annie Negan, the title track, Black Velvet Stallion, Quactors and Bureaucrats. I mean, just cool, wacky stuff. And again, Burke at the center of it all, with that voice, with those big bass lines, right alongside Tony's tremendous riffing. 1978, Impeccable. All right, you got Pyramids, Melt the Ice Away, Don't Dilute the Water. Most of the lyrics, and especially the song titles, have a humorous side to them. Here is where the 80s are starting to wind down. Here, the band is their sound is becoming a little bit more mainstream hard rock and metal by this point, and especially as we move into the 80s, like you got Power Supply, Check out that album cover here. You know, the new wave of British heavy metal, riding high. Okay, band lineups is going to start to change, but at the center of it all is always Burke. Again, this is if you like that early new wave of British heavy metal sound. You got plenty of that stuff going on here. Same thing on Night Flight. More great album cover work. I don't find these albums as through and through as strong as some of the early ones, but there's still some really good stuff on here. I Turn to Stone is a killer song, Superstar. Then we've got 1982's Deliver Us from Evil, which, you know, basically the band is at this point they're ready to go take a break for quite a long time. They come back. Well, there's also The Last Stage. This was probably the last thing they put out. The Last Stage. When did this come out? This was don't even remember when this officially came out. This is like a bunch of recordings that didn't make out. 1985. All right, the stuff recorded between 79 and 85, and this was basically Burke Shelley, John Thomas on guitars and vocals, and Steve Williams on drums. So this is basically a bunch of things that were recorded in that 6-year period. This was released after Budgie was kind of already like, you know, we're kind of done. But they did come back in 2006 for You're All Living in Cuckoo Land. Not a bad album. Not a bad album. I wouldn't say it was a return to form. But here you got Burke along with Steve Williams on drums and Simon Lease on guitars and vocals. At least this was a nice return for the band. It's a pretty decent hard rock record. Not quite as heavy as some of the early stuff, but definitely good. And then there's probably more than this, but there's various Budgie live albums out there. Here you have Radio Sessions 74 and 78. All right, and here you got the BBC recordings. There's also a live in San Antonio from 2002. There's Heavier Than Air, Rarest Eggs, another compilation of live stuff from the 70s, and We Came, We Saw, which has some additional live stuff from 1980, 1982. So there's plenty of live stuff out there you can get. Plenty of Best of Budgie compilations. I know of at least 3 or 4 of them. So if you're, you know, watching this and you're intrigued enough to investigate this catalog based on some of the, you know, pretty nice things I've said about Burke and the band, because quite frankly they deserve it. You know, go for any of those first like 5 albums. That's my place to start. Budgie, Squawk, Never Turn Your Back on a Friend, In for the Kill, and Britannia. That's to me the highlights of the Budgie, Squawk, Never Turn Your Back on a Friend, In for the Kill, and Bandolier. I'd also include, if I were Britannia, I'd waive the rules in there. But the first 5, for me, really are the cream of the crop. And then there's, like I said, there's various Best of Budgie albums out there that, you know, range from 9 to 10 songs or whatever. If you can get the one with the most tracks on it, there's one I think called An Ecstasy of Fumbling, the definitive anthology. That's a 2-disc set. That's probably, if you just, and again, I don't know how hard these are to get nowadays. I've had all these Budgie CDs for quite a while, but if it's, you know, if finding them is a factor, availability as well as price, then get the definitive anthology, the 2-disc set. That's probably going to give you a really strong collection of songs, at least as a start, because my guess is you'll probably listen to that, love it, and want to dive even deeper. That's what this band is all about. The deep cuts are great on these albums. So Burke Shelley leaves us at the age of 71. It's crazy to think that, you know, he was only 15 years older than me. You start to think of these things as a lot of your heroes are leaving the planet, and you know, you look at your own mortality and think, wow, you know, anything can happen at this stage of the game, right? So yeah, but a great band. I'm a huge fan of Budgie, and this is a great loss. And, you know, obviously with the passing of Burke, that's going to be it officially for Budgie. I'm certain, and it's a shame. So John Burke Shelley, leaving us yesterday on the 10th of January. He's up there playing with the greats now, looking down on all of us, and I think we all owe it to him and the rest of the band to be listening to some classic Budgie over the next couple days in memory of this great musician, songwriter, vocalist, bassist, and this great, totally underrated band that deserves all of your attention. So thanks for watching. I'm Pete Pardo. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we are on YouTube all the damn time. We love you, Burke. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you real soon here on the channel. Bye-bye.